Back on the road once again this weekend as Purdue travels to Illinois for a big series against the Fighting Illini as the Boilermakers come off a weekend series at Penn State. I'm Kyle Charters for This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex with the SID Ben Turner and the head baseball coach, Greg Goff. What a weekend your team really battled on Sunday after dropping the first two games against the Nittany Lions, and what were some pretty crazy baseball games with a lot of runs, a lot of unanswered runs on both sides. But you ended on a good note with 8 unanswered by your squad to come back. I thought it was telling of your team, down a couple of games, you fall behind early in the game on Sunday, but your guys really battled back. I mean, it was a crucial win,
right.
And to be able to have the stick-to-itiveness to stay in there and come back and get some victory was big.
It was big, Kyle. It really was. That was probably the first time that in a while that we really, scored multiple times in the last, 4 innings. And so I just really, was so proud of our guys the way, we had the lead and we had a couple of mistakes there defensively and got them right back in the game. And then they take the lead. And then our guys just continue to kind of come back and just, score a couple here, a couple there. And then next thing you know, we take the lead and we got Avery Cook ready to rock and roll from the weekend. So it was, I thought I was really, really happy with the way our guys were resilient and really came back and beat a really good Penn State team at home.
Yeah, we've got resiliency, moxie all written down here, all of those things. But we talk about the offense and being able to score, but the pitching and defense came through with you late as well.
Yeah.
Michael Vallone, Avery Cook,
Yeah.
Pitching some big innings, I think 5 consecutive frames with zeros, big for those guys. And what was a wild series where, you guys had early leads on Friday and Saturday, and then Penn State comes back and you guys battle back a little. I mean, it was
right.
It was sort of wild like that. But for those guys to really lock down those last several innings was huge.
It was really huge, and we, as we go through these last 4 weekends, every one of those wins are going to be important to get to the conference tournament and continue our season and things of that nature. So, I just keep telling the guys, we got to keep our nose down, keep grinding. We've had some tough breaks with some injuries and things of that nature in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I think if we can just keep grinding, I think the last couple of weeks, I think we'll get most of everybody back, and hopefully we're in a position where we can get in that conference tournament.
Kyle mentioned how you scored first each day of the series and had some big innings early along the way, but over the course of the weekend, it was Penn State, 3 or more runs in 7 different innings in their 25 times at the plate. Did you see any common themes there? Because big innings hadn't really been an issue,
right.
Washington and Rutgers for
right.
the team, but they did pop up again against you this week.
Yeah, they did. I think, we walked too many guys. We got behind too many guys, to be honest with you, from our pitching staff perspective. Just kind of going back from our review from the weekend with Coach Newman and our staff. And I thought that they had some big hits. They did a good job. I thought they used the middle of the field. They didn't try to do a lot. A lot of those RBIs were just singles up the middle or things of that nature. So, I just thought that we just gave away too many free bases and made some crucial errors at times. Really pleased how our offense got out front. And whenever you do that, you better hold those games down. And those multiple innings in the middle of the game really cost us, Ben.
Left side of your infield came up big on Sunday. Cam Gasser and Brandon Anderson both had big days, both scored 3 times.
Yeah.
BA, I thought, one of the at-bats of the year.
No doubt.
To lead off the 7th inning. That game was, you were trailing at the time, and he took, I think, 12 pitches, ends up with a double to ignite a rally, and then comes up the next inning and drives in the tying or go-ahead run with a sac fly. But it was the slash play. I thought it was executed beautifully. Hit and run slash play. At least that's how it looked from the press box.
Right.
Gasser at the plate, Albert Choi on base. You take the bunt off, and he slaps it right by the third baseman, and the guys end up on first and third. I mean, that was very cool to see. And Gasser had a good weekend, 700 OBP out of the 9-hole for you.
Yeah, no doubt. And, Cam's just, he's a good player. He got off to a tough start, and this game's tough, but just really proud of him, how he's, come on and really had a really good week. And we got to have that, right? When guys go down, when you lose a guy like Lucas Cook, your best offensive player and your shortstop, you got to have guys step up, and Cam did a really good job of that. I'm really proud of him. His swing has continued to get better, and we need that as we go to these next few weekends. We need him to continue to do what he can do. We know he can do it. Had a great year last year, and if he can do that and play a good shortstop, we'll have a chance for sure, Ben. Everybody keeps forgetting, we got some hit and runs. We run and hit. We were able to score some runs, but also having Avery Moore come up with a big safety there, first and third. with an 0-1 count was huge too. I asked him yesterday. I said, hey, when's the last time you safety? He said, Coach, I've never done that before. So, again, the little things I don't think people really see if you're not watching the game, but, getting those hit and runs and running hits and getting opportunity to have a safety was huge for our offense, Ben.
The little things turn productive innings into big innings.
Yes.
And to put 3 on the board there in the 8th,
huge. It
keeps Penn State from being able to bring the tying run to the plate in the 9th.
Yeah.
And so, those little things do add up. Maybe take us through a couple of BA's bats. In that Sunday game, you had a couple doubles. You had one stretch where you had 3 doubles in a row, which was a huge start to that game.
Right.
After their starter came out, and he looked good early. I mean, he struck out, 5 of the first 6, 5 in a row?
Yeah, he did.
It felt like the bottom of the lineup and then BA especially kind of helped change that momentum.
There's no doubt. We take a lot of pride in our 2-strike approach, and I thought Brandon really set the tone in that inning. Really, wore that pitcher down that they'd brought in and just did a tremendous job with that. And I think that just kind of, just like with anything, it's all contagious, right? You start hitting and you start battling with 2 strikes, your team start building confidence with that. And I think that really he set the tone for that and really thankful that he did that. And I think we'll continue to see, hopefully, as we go through this week, that we'll continue to get better offensively with stuff like that.
Logan Sutter hit just the 2nd home run of the season off Penn State ace Ryan DeSanto on Friday. Also doubled in each of the 4 games last week. He's now just a couple shy of the Purdue record for doubles in a season. Last year he got off to a really hot start, sort of plateaued. This year, man, his consistency throughout the season's been excellent.
There's no doubt. He's been the rock right there in the middle of the order. I really loved how he stayed on some balls this weekend. Hit the ball right center. Hit the pull side home run there that he got on the changeup, I think, and just a tremendous hitter. But I tell the guys all the time, like middle to the late last year, he wasn't even playing for us. To be honest with you, he was struggling a little bit, and we had some other guys step up. So, just really happy for him and what he's doing. It's definitely, you saw this weekend they intentionally walked him there a time or so just because they didn't want him to hurt him. So.
It's not. You mentioned injuries and other things earlier. It's not very often you get 15 games in your Big Ten season and you have 2 new middle infielders. But
no.
Cam Gasser forced into playing, and stepped up with Lucas Cook injured.
Yeah.
Now platooning Breck Nowick at second base with Ty Gill, and Nowick's been solid for you. I mean, he's played a pretty good defensive second base. He's hit the ball as we know he's capable of doing, but it's nice to now, with one guy out in that middle infielder, have another guy you can plug in.
It is, and just really happy for Breck, especially hitting from the right side against lefties. It's been kind of the key of why we did that move, and he had another great weekend and made some really nice plays.
Yeah.
One ball he caught on the other side of second base and threw a guy out. So again, whenever you have, you never hope those things happen, but you better, hopefully have people step up, and I think we did a really good job with Breck and Cam. Avery Moore, I thought, he hadn't started a lot lately and really had some good at-bats for us. Just a number of guys, I think that, have really stepped up for us, Kyle.
C.J. Richmond ends up with 3 RBIs on Sunday. He beat the shift twice.
Yeah, he did.
With a couple of those RBI singles. Felt like Penn State shifted a lot, moving their third baseman around to the right side of the infield and stuff like that. Was that kind of what you expected? And beating the shift, I know it's easier said than done, but exit velocity matters on some of that stuff.
It does, but the thing that was great about CJ was that he started to use the middle of the field, and that's what we want all our guys to do. And when you do that, you beat the shift. People shift because you are usually one-sided, right? And so he had been kind of more pull side, and so to see him do that was awesome, and I hope we can continue to do that because there's a number of people. Everybody has what we call synergy, and watch videos of everybody's at-bats and what they're strike out on and what they chase and where they put the ball in play. So, you got to be able to make adjustments. This time of year, the teams that are able to make adjustments are the ones that can be successful because everybody's got data, everybody has the technology, and now it's a matter of can we continue to help our players make adjustments and make improvements.
Easton Story coming back to pitch tonight against Austin Peay. Taping this on Tuesday, first start since March 29th, and that'll be a big boost to get him back out there. And nice to see it wasn't a really extended absence after he had to leave that last game, last Saturday of March.
Yeah, he's great. He came up to me this weekend and said, Coach, you going to start me on Sunday? I was like, well, I don't know about that yet. But, I just love Easton's mentality. This is like our whole team. They're such a great group. But for him to want the baseball And to be back is you don't see it a lot, right? When pitchers go down, a lot of times they don't come back for whatever reason. So I'm really, really excited for him, and hopefully he'll go out tonight and give us a good 2 or 3 innings and then be ready for the weekend.
At least for the regular season, the long road trips are over. Hopefully we'll make a couple in the postseason. But your last 16 games here, all within 120 miles of campus, including the trip to Illinois this weekend. So you'll be able to play close to home. That's probably a little bit of a luxury, including having a couple of series back at Alexander Field, of course. But being able to make those short trips for these last 16 games maybe will be a little bit helpful.
It is. I think anytime you get a chance, the weather's warming up. I think it's supposed to be 70 tonight. And last Monday when we played Arizona State, it was nice for us. And so I think, as we go down these last 4 weekends, man, we got to be our best and play our best, and really excited about the opportunity of tonight with a really good Austin Peay team, and then this weekend going over to Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois this weekend, the Illini are always a very competitive opponent, especially it feels like in Champaign. Yeah. It just feels like Dan Hartlett builds that team to play in the wind at Illinois Field. And it'll be a challenge this weekend, but it's always nice to go over there and you know what you're going to get, I think, with the Illini.
No doubt. They're big and physical. I started just watching some games when we were coming home this weekend. They were playing on the West Coast. So, when you lose, you don't sleep very, very much. So I got a chance to watch them a couple of times on Saturday night and then finished up on Sunday. So they're physical. They're good. They won the league last year. So it'll be a great challenge for us, but I know our guys will be ready to rock and roll.
Another big week. We'll be there. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
All right, that'll do it for our podcast for this week. Of course, we'll set you up for that home series the following week coming up after Illinois. That'll do it for our show. Thanks to Ben Turner, Greg Goff, and our producer, Corey Palm. I'm Kyle Charters for This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex.
Play championship golf at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Enjoy great food and great drinks at the new Pete Dye Clubhouse, and shop official Purdue gear at the Purdue Pro